Gideon Falter, who is chairman of the Campaign Against Antisemitism. Gideon, good evening.
Good evening, Ian. Hi.
Nice to have you with us. I said right at the beginning of all of this that once upon a time, Labour was a party that you would say was very Jewish-friendly. That was kind of, if you had to sort of nail certain religions to the mast of certain political parties, not exclusively, but there was always a good synergy between Labour and British Jews. That's been there for a long time. What on earth has happened to that relationship?
Well, it's been a very sad tale because you're absolutely right. This Labour was the party of choice for British Jews for a very long time. And what we've seen in polling is year after year, British Jews abandoning Labour because they feel abandoned by Labour itself. And what we've seen since the ascent of Jeremy Corbyn is that he has consistently allowed anti-Semites within the party to get away with it. When you've seen things like Naz Shah, for example, getting caught out, he's and then bowed to pressure to suspend her. But Ken Livingstone still suspended, not expelled from the party. Gerald Kaufman, no action taken whatsoever against him. And so what you've got is a systematic failure within Labour. It's not just Corbyn, it's the entire party, really, where you've got these incidents of anti-Semitism happening on an unprecedented scale. You cited these 25,000 messages of hate that were sent to Ruth Smead alone. You've got this problem occurring on an unprecedented scale, and you've got the institutions of Labour failing to take robust action against it. And you've got Jeremy Corbyn in the meanwhile saying, well, I'm an anti-racist, so it's impossible for and Labour is an anti-racist party, so it's impossible for anti-Semitism to occur here. And that's what these MPs, including Labour MPs from the Home Affairs Select Committee, have now roundly condemned. They've said that we are not persuaded that he fully appreciates the distinct nature of post-Second World War anti-Semitism, and that he's created these safe spaces, and what they're safe spaces for anti-Semites, and what they're saying in fairly clear language, accusing him of lack of leadership and not understanding the difference, is basically that he hasn't really got it. He's still fighting post-Holocaust anti-Semitism, workplace discrimination anti-Semitism, and he doesn't understand that British Jews in modern-day Britain are now being attacked from three fronts. We've got far-right anti-Semitism, that traditional old Nazi-inspired far-right anti-Semitism. You've got Islamist anti-Semitism born of religious hatred of Jews, which has been a sort of a weaponized version of Islam, which has been perverted into an all-out assault, an ideology which wants an all-out assault on Jews. And then you've got far-left anti-Semitism, and this is the bit that Corbyn has totally failed to grasp, where you have got this increasing body on the left which views Jews as fair game because of Israel. I would just say that Lord Sachs, Rabbi Sachs, seems to put it best. His way of explaining it is, in the beginning they hated us for our religion, and then came the Renaissance, and they couldn't hate us for our religion anymore, so they hated us for our race. And then came the Holocaust, and they couldn't hate us for our race anymore, so they hated us for our state. And that's exactly what the committee is trying to get at. It's trying to drive a wedge between these people who say, I'm not racist, but, and use Israel as a method of bashing Jews in Britain everywhere. And that's what this is all about.
Let me just while you're there, Gideon, I hope you don't mind, but I want to just bring in a comment from Zaid, who, I think, Zaid, in Nottingham, you have a very different view to the one that Gideon's just put forward.
Yeah, I'm pretty amazed at what I'm hearing, and that you're even letting him talk about this Islamic anti-Semitism and whatnot.
Why is he not allowed to talk about it? So...
No, suggesting that there's a special type of anti-Semitism that only Muslims have, and we have some sort of religious basis to hating Muslims. But
well, hang on, Gideon, can you come back on that?
That's not what I'm saying. No, I'm not saying that Islam is a religion that teaches people to hate Muslims. I'm saying that Islamism, which is what is behind ISIS and many other forms of pernicious ideologies.
Let's not call them Muslims at all.
Well, Zayed, they claim to be exactly that, so that's the point that Gideon's making. They might not be that.
Why does people about ISIS claim an Islamic State, but a Jewish state is fine?
Jews because of an ideology that they've been taught, which is called and widely referred to as Islamism.
OK, so you're saying, Zayed, you're supporting ISIS in their quest for
that's not what I'm saying.
Islamic State.
I'm saying it's silly for us to... I don't at all support Daesh or ISIS, of course not.
Well, because they've got the word state in it, it's the same thing, is it, as Israel? Because it's got the word state. So if I go for I want a non-black state, is that all right then? Because it's got the word state in it.
No, look. All I'm trying to say is we can say that British colonialism was bad. ISIS is bad, but it's all right for Israel to go and do what they're doing. I don't really understand. I mean, I have Orthodox
That's not what's being
Jewish
said
friends.
at all, Zaid.
No, I feel that's what I'm feeling.
Well, what?
Okay, so let me just explain something to you.
All right, let Gideon respond to that.
Zaid, in the report that came out today, the MPs unanimously backed a definition of anti-Semitism, which specifically says at the end of the definition, I'll just read it for you, it's one sentence: criticism of Israel similar to that levelled against any other country cannot be regarded as anti-Semitic. So whatever your view on Israeli policy, you're absolutely allowed to be criticising that without that being considered anti-Semitic. No one that I would agree with would call you anti-Semitic for legitimate criticism. It's when it crosses over and you start saying things like, not you, but people start saying things like, Israelis are the new Nazis, Israel needs to be annihilated or destroyed. That's when it crosses over into something which is beyond normal criticism of a state and beyond normal debate. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, of course I agree with that. But I think we're too easy to let Israel off on all of the crimes that they have committed. I mean, in fairness, they are no different from any colonialist state like Britain or France in the past who've gone in and I'm really confused as to why everyone seems to negate this fact. I'm not anti-Semitic at all.
We're not really talking about letting Israel off. We're talking about letting anti-Semites off. So we've got people within the Labour Party who are anti-Semitics, people like Jackie Walker, making anti-Semitic comments like that Jews are the chief financiers of the slave trade. You've got those kinds of comments being made, and it's about whether we're going to let those people off because the Labour Party is not going to be strong enough. And personally, if I heard similar comments being made about Muslims, and those people remaining as vice chair of Momentum, as Jackie Walker did for a while until she went and opened her mouth again and then got demoted. If I heard those sorts of comments being made about Muslims, I would be absolutely astonished if those people retained their positions. And I don't understand why people aren't astonished that Jackie Walker stayed in her position as long as she did. And that's why I was so pleased to read this report.
Zayed, do you want to just come back in on that quickly?
Yeah, no, I can't remember. I don't know exactly what Jackie Walker said, so I'm a bit misinformed.